Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 of this series on how to improve. You might have noticed I changed the title of the series to How to Play WoT Like a Pro, because technically I'm a pro at World of Tanks. I've played in Gold League and whatnot in the past. So hopefully that's fine with you guys. I just think it'll get me more clicks basically. Now today on the show we're going to talk about one of the most important factors in how well you play World of Tanks. And it's a thing that's not talked about very often at all, not nearly as much as it should be. And that thing is bloom control. Now I want to be very clear about what I mean when I'm talking about bloom in World of Tanks. When I say bloom control, I'm talking about how to negate negative penalties to the size of your reticle due to turning your turret, moving forwards or backwards, or turning your hull. Every tank in World of Tanks has unique dispersion penalty values, and some are far worse than others. So for example, the 4005 has much worse dispersion penalties than the IS-7, and the IS-7 has much worse dispersion penalties than an Object 140. And so that's why you can kind of tell the difference between those guns and how much their reticle blooms when you move or turn their turrets. Bloom penalties are why, for example, a 60 TP gun feels way derpier than an IS-7 gun, despite the fact that the 60 TP has better fully aimed accuracy than the IS-7. Overall, bloom control is all about keeping your reticle as small as possible at all times when engaging enemy tanks. So let me show you some examples of bloom control in training rooms first, and then I'll go on to show you a really cool replay I had in the 4005 where I used a lot of the tips I'll be explaining. So first I'm going to show you how to aim and poke, not poke and then aim. Now that might sound weird to say at first, but I'll show you what I mean in a second. Here I have Taco helping me again, so thanks to Taco for helping me. Basically right now I'm around a corner. Let's assume that this guy is spotted and that we're unspotted. So maybe our teammate is spotting them, but we're not being spotted by the opponent. This first poke I'm going to show you, I think I show you how to poke incorrectly. So here I poke. You see how long I have to aim? Boom. Then I shoot. Now the reason why I had to aim for so long when I poked this corner is, first of all, I started way too far back around the corner. And then I pulled forward at basically maximum speed. And speed, movement speed, as you might recall from my intro, is one of the dispersion penalties to your tank. So basically the lesson from this is the slower you go around a corner, the less dispersion penalty will be applied to your reticle. So try to go around corners very slowly. Now another tip that you might be able to use is fully aiming your gun in and then poking slowly. So even if you're poking slowly, if you just came from around this corner, you're zooming by and then you stop and then you're like, okay, I have to take this corner slowly to reduce my bloom. You still might not be, your bloom might still not be optimal because you haven't fully aimed your gun before poking around the corner. So here you see me fully aiming, pretty much, basically. And then I poke slowly. And now look how much less time I have to aim for. Just a couple of seconds. Next I'm going to show you how to... This kind of has to do with the topic of bloom, but it's also just another topic in general. I'm going to show you how to snapshot around a corner in third person with minimal bloom. So in order to do this, you do not pre-aim at your target. So if I'm trying to aim right here in the middle of his hull, I'm not going to aim directly in the middle of his hull when I'm pre-aiming around the corner. Replay bug. I'm going to be aiming around right here, because when I pull around this way, my gun will stay fixed at the same angle, and when I pull out, it will be pre-aimed exactly where I need to aim, on his hull. Now why do I do this? Why don't I just pre-aim at his hull and then pull around and shoot his hull? Well, if you do that, your turret is automatically going to adjust to turn left, because right now it's aimed perfectly. Once you pull forward, it won't be aimed perfectly anymore. You'll be aiming too far to the right, so your turret will have to rotate left, and that will give you a dispersion penalty to turret rotation. So that's why you don't want to aim exactly where your target is. You want to aim where the target will be once you're poked around the corner. So here's the example. Boom. Perfect snapshot. And as you see, just like before, I went around the corner very slowly to reduce the bloom as much as I possibly can. Okay, so for this replay I have Paddington helping me, so I want to give a big shout out to Patty for helping me. In this replay I'm going to show you how to lock your turret in the direction of an enemy before going around a corner. Now if you don't know what I mean by that, you'll see in a second. So right now, let's pretend that Patty is spotted. He's right here. I know he's right around this corner. You see how I'm aiming my gun at him? This is what most players would do. And let's say I'm not going to stop on this corner to shoot him. I'm planning on zooming around this corner and pushing right up into his face. So what would be the best way to go around the corner in this situation in order to minimize bloom? Well, I'm going to show you the wrong way first. And that is to aim at him as I go around the corner and then turn. And now look at how big my reticle is getting, because I have to readjust my turret to aim at him as I go around the corner. And as you can see, it doesn't really fucking matter because I'm an IS-7, so I just hit every single shot regardless. And you know, why would the game allow me to prove my point? That just wouldn't make any sense, would it? So now I'm going to show you the proper way to do it. So let's again pretend that Patty is spotted and I'm not planning to stop on this corner. I want to get in his face. This is how I would do it properly in order to reduce bloom. So instead of aiming directly at him and then readjusting after I come around the corner, I adjust before I go around the corner. This is where my gun will roughly be this is roughly how my gun needs to be pointed in order for it to line up with where I'm driving after I go around the corner. So that's why I'm aiming forward. And then I lock my turret, and you can just look at the bloom. You can see how much less the bloom spreads. And of course I miss because, you know, this game hates me and it doesn't want me to prove my point. But this tip is especially useful in tanks that have very bad dispersion while turning the turret compared to dispersion while turning the hull. So make sure you kind of have a rough idea of what those values are for your tanks. The values are probably going to seem pretty meaningless to you if it's the first time you've looked at those values. By the way, you can look up those values on tanks.gg for every tank in the game. But once you look at a bunch of tanks, like a few dozen, then you can start to get a general idea of what is a good dispersion value and what is a bad dispersion value. That's all I've got for this replay, so now let's go onto the actual replay of a random battle I had in the 4005, a 10,000 damage game I had, which I found pretty entertaining, so I hope you will as well. So in the last two replays, there was one thing that I forgot to mention. It's a very obvious tip. I probably don't even need to cover it, but since it doesn't show up in this replay, I thought I would just talk about it really quick before this replay starts. And that tip is, whenever you're driving across an open field or something and you're pretty sure an enemy is located somewhere, you should just always have your turret pointed in that direction. In order to reduce the turret dispersion penalty you would have to face if your turret was not faced in their direction and you wanted to stop and shoot them. So for example, if there was an enemy up here and I'm driving from here to here, I should just have my turret pre-aimed on where I think they'll be, so then if they get spotted I can just stop and then I don't have to turn my turret to in their direction. But that's pretty obvious. I don't think many of you will need to know about that. So anyway, let's get into the replay now. We're on Abbey. This is the equipment I've decided to take on the 4K5 aiming unit, rotation mechanism, which reduces the bloom, and this thing has god-awful bloom, so it's very useful on this tank. I would take it over vents like any day, even though vents slightly decreases your reload and makes your fully aimed accuracy slightly better than with rotation mechanism. I still think it's superior. If you wanted your bloom to be even better, you could drop a rammer for vents, but I don't really think it's worth it if you're going for maximum damage per game in the 4K5. So I decided to start this game off by pre-aiming the middle. This is like a perfect pre-game scenario for a 4K5 where you can just pre-aim a spot where there are lots of tanks going basically. And I want you to pay attention to how I approach this corner. Pay attention to how my turret is already pre-aimed roughly. It should be even turned slightly more. But my turret is already pre-aimed in the direction that I'm going to be facing. I'm not driving forward lolly-dolly like this with my turret pointed straight forward and then turning my turret later. I pre-aim the corner where I need to go. And then I go around the corner slowly to reduce my bloom. And if you notice these micro adjustments with my hull, I make them as small as possible. You want to make your movements and the movements of your reticle as slow as possible in order to reduce dispersion penalties. And boom. We killed their bat shit. That's pretty good. So now I'm just getting unspotted, and I'm gonna stay here for a while. I decide that it's worth it to stay here in the middle in case this STB overpokes. And also looking at the enemy team, I see that they have 5 tank destroyers, 4 of whom are still unlit, including a 4K5 and grill. Now where do enemy tank destroyers like to sit on this map? Well, that's obvious. They sit right here. Almost every single game you'll find a tank destroyer there. So I'm thinking, even if I can't get a shot on this STB, I can go for a blind shot. Right here. And once you've done this enough times, you know exactly how to line up this blind shot. It's really easy. You want to aim low enough that you won't shoot above them. If you don't know about this lineup for the blind shot, if you don't know it exactly, you can always just ping the map exactly where you want to aim out of render, and then just shoot slightly above your ping. But since I already know the lineup for this blind shot, I just take it. And spoiler alert, I do not hit that shot. There is no one there. But I thought I should explain what I was doing there anyways. Now I'm still staying middle, because I'm thinking that this 13105 might get lit up here, and he does. So I'm just waiting for a shot on him. And boom, he's dead. Now I realize that there's only a 400 HP STB middle. I'm not going to be able to get a shot on this Leo from this position. And things are kind of stalemating on the 9-line flank. So I decide that I should just go for 1 line. But before that, I'm going to take one more quick blind shot. Just because I was almost fully loaded anyway, so might as well just take one before I leave. That doesn't hit either. You can see the explosion. Let me speed this up a little bit. Now in a second here, there's going to be another example of how you should poke a corner in order to reduce bloom. And I want you to pay a lot of attention to this because it's really important. Look at how I'm lining up my tank already so that I don't have to rotate. So that in order to poke this corner, all I have to do is drive forward. The only dispersion penalty afflicting my tank is the moving dispersion penalty when I poke this corner. I'm not turning my hull at all. I'm not turning my turret at all. So that's only 1 out of 3 of the dispersion factors influencing my aim. I also want you to notice I'm going to fully aim, or at least nearly fully aim, before I poke the corner instead of just driving around and then trying to aim. Because obviously that will reduce my exposure time if I fully aim before I go around, and it will also surprise the enemies because I'm not spotted right now. And then lastly, I go around the corner slowly in order to minimize the only dispersion penalty that's afflicting my tank, the moving dispersion penalty. So just pay attention here. I stop for a second, get nearly fully aimed, and then I'm just tapping the forward key a little bit at a time. And then I also, another trick you can use is, as you can see in the lower left, you can one-tap R. And one-tapping R will make your your tank go forward at, I believe, 5 kilometers per hour, which is a very slow speed. And it just keeps your movement very smooth, which is important for reducing dispersion. Here I want to go for the S-Conk. He has the most HP, and I pen his cupola. Very epic. But if you noticed, as I went around that corner, I was basically already fully aimed. I didn't have to aim at all, basically. And so that's what a lot of people just don't understand, is you can get your peaks down where you're already fully aimed when you go around. And there's no real reason to aim any further. And so when you get snapshotted, in air quotes, a lot of the time what's happening is you're just playing against an enemy who knows what they're doing. And they know how to control their bloom well. Here I don't want to take a shot from this Wheezy, so I decided to focus him first and just take him out, because I didn't think it was likely I was going to be able to pen the Chief anyways without taking a lot of damage in return. And next, as you can see, I'm using third person to figure out what I have shots on, and I see that I don't have much of a shot on this 4K5, so I decided to go for this E3. And again, I'm poking very slowly with everything all lined up perfectly. And we managed to kill him. I don't think this was pre-nerf HE, by the way. I think this was post-nerf HE. This replay was from like December. And now I'm full HP. I see that this VZ, one of these VZs is out, and that they're trying to deal with this guy up here, so I think I can take the opportunity to kill this chieftain. Now notice how I'm hugging the left side to stay unlit as long as I can, because I know if I get lit early around here, these VZs are probably going to turn around and come to this corner and try to shoot me, which I really don't want to happen. I also want to surprise the chieftain so that he's not prepared for me. And as you can see, he's not even looking at me. And we take him out. Now this game's getting really close. I have 6 kills. We're down 3,000 HP. They're taking our base. At least it seems like they might take our base. And we're in a tough situation where we have to fight against VZs who know where we're coming from. And here again, I'm getting ready to peek this corner, fully pre-aiming. And I think I high rolled that guy. 800 damage is a lot for that angle that I hit him at, and the armor plating that I hit him at. And I decided to chase this VZ. I'm not going to commit onto him or anything, but I just want to see if I can get a shot in on him. And now I see that the Leo is middle, so this guy's isolated, so it's an even greater reason why we should be pushing this guy right now. And I catch him with his pants down, which is just perfect. So I pen him. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I see their VC goes down, he gets unlit over here. I think he kills our V4. Or maybe the Leo kills the V4. Somehow our V4 dies. Yeah. And so now I'm thinking, I see if I can get a shot through here. I don't see one, so I don't take it. Now I'm thinking, these guys down in the lower right hand corner, they've been unlit for a very long time. So they're either pushing our base, just doing it very slowly, or they went all the way back around. And they could be here, or they could be all the way coming around. I would expect them to be here, to be honest. But I know that these guys were just lit a second ago, so I have some time before they're gonna flank me around the north. So I just take this time to cover our E100 in case they push our base. But you'll see in a second here, my spidey senses start tingling, and I'm really expecting them to come behind me. If you see in chat, I think my face cam is probably covering it, but I tell the E100 to try to take the Abbey, like right here, because this position right here is extremely strong for defending the cap circle. So I'm thinking he can cover the cap circle, I'll cover these two alleyways here, and then we should be able to cover everything together. There's a chance I'll be overrun, but if they come one at a time, then I can hold this. So here I'm slow poking, as you do in the 4K5, which has terrible dispersion penalties. And then this is a terrible situation for a 4K5. You're taking a situation where the enemy has surprised you. This is exactly what you don't want in the 4K5. You want to be the one to surprise them. So watch how I attempt to aim here. This guy is overexposed to me. I can hit him, but it's going to be a hard shot, because if I whip my tank towards him and then just try to aim in and click right as he goes around the corner, he's probably going to see that I'm turning towards him and then instantly just pull back. Or, more likely, I'll just straight up miss my shot because my dispersion will be so huge. So pay attention to how I aim this. I only move my turret to try to reduce my penalties. And so now you'll see I didn't turn my turret in time to shoot him. But that's not a big deal to me. I didn't really want to risk it anyways, unless he decided to just sit in the open. What I really wanted to do here was just back him off, and then try to reverse to get away. But then I see the Leo come, and then I have no choice there but to fucking just like yeet the hell out of him. And right now, this VZ just shot me, and I was thinking for a second that I might out-reload him, but the VZ reload is like 18 seconds, and my reload is like 22 or 23 seconds, so I realized that I can't actually out-reload him. Now I see our E100 is getting flanked by the grill. I was going to go and help him out, but I don't have to. Now, one thing that you have to keep in mind is I started turning my turret towards the E100, and I did that deliberately. It wasn't just to help him out. I was turning my turret to try to bait the VZ into pushing me. So now I'm thinking there's a chance, a small chance, if he was paying attention in third person, which, you know, to be fair, almost no random battle players do. He should know that I was turning around and he might come this way to try to poke me. So I pre-aim this side first. I know that if I don't see him coming from this side within like 10 seconds or 15 seconds, I can always just turn around and pre-aim the other side. It's not a big deal. And so that's what I do. I pre-aim the other side because I know now that he's almost certainly coming around this side to kill me. But then, again, a terrible situation. 4K5 comes behind me at the worst possible moment. But for some reason, he pulls backwards. So I managed to turn in time to kill him. Now I'm trying to get behind this rock preemptively because I know that this guy's coming from this side, so I have to get in cover. And now, I think in my mind, I still thought our E100 was here, but regardless of whether he was here or not, I need to try to dodge this second shell because he already fired one at me. And so pay attention to what I do here. This is very important. I pull backwards because I know for a fact if he comes around this side of the rock, I'm dead. There's nothing I can do. I can't reverse around this way. It takes way too long. So I'm baiting him into pushing the back side of my tank so that I can go forward. And so I deliberately bet reverse to get him to come this direction. And then I time it almost perfectly so that he doesn't know which way to go. He's confused. He snaps me and he hits my track. GG. Game over. It's too easy, bro. And yeah, that's it. There were no blind shots this game, but I got 10 kills, 9,900 damage. Pretty epic carry. So I hope this episode has taught you a thing or two about how Bloom works and how to control it, and I hope it will help you, especially in your 4K5 and E100 with the big gun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Just a warning, I'm not sure exactly when I will upload next. This series, I might turn it into a more intermittent thing where I upload like one a week, but I will be uploading like, probably I will be uploading post commentaries on other replays. I just might not make it part of this series, so we'll see. Anyways, see you guys next time.